أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على عبد الله ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، أما بعد. So I'd like to start off by saying how fantastic it is and how much of a blessing it is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gathered us together again. That we have a very, very beautiful topic, and I think the topics that were chosen today, they were really, really well chosen. The topic of friendship. And I think anyone who thinks about this, you start off by thinking that friendship is something essential for every single human being. And I'm going to give you an evidence. The statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ. In Surah Al-Kahf, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is told, keep yourself, remain patient. Keep yourself along with those people who call upon their Lord in the morning and evening, seeking His face. If the Prophet ﷺ was told to surround himself with good people, فَغَيْرُهُ مِنْ بَابِ أَوْلَى. Everyone else is more deserving of it than him. So to have good people around you, to have friends, to have people that support you, this is something that everybody needs. It's something you can't get away from. And that's why there is a wealth of material in the Quran and the Sunnah to tell us about the importance of good friendships and the danger of bad ones. From this is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, Surah Al-Zukhruf, الْأَخِلَّاءُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بَعْضُهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ عَدُوٌّ إِلَّا الْمُتَّقِينَ. Al-Akhilla, those closest of friends. Not just there are friends and there are friends, right? There are people that you know. I see the brother in the masjid, Salamu alaikum wa alaikum salam, that's it. There are people you might meet him once or twice in a year. Al-Akhilla, the person who is your closest, most dearest friend that you spend all of your time with, they will be enemies to each other on the day of Al-Qiyamah. Enemies. The people who were the closest people to each other, your best, your closest friend, an enemy. إِلَّا الْمُتَّقِينَ, except the people of taqwa. And we're going to come to this. The friendship that is built upon Iman will last until Yawm al-Qiyamah. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. The friendship that is built upon everything else, even your best friend will be your worst enemy on that day. And we all know the ayat in Surah Al-Furqan. We've heard it recited many, many times. وَيَوْمَ يَعَضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ يقول يا ليتني اتخذت مع الرسول سبيلا يا ويلتى ليتني لم أتخذ فلانا خليلا لقد أضلني عن الذكر بعد إذ جاءني وكان الشيطان للإنسان خذولا. On the day when the oppressive person will bite on their hands. Why do you bite on your hands? Out of complete despair, misery, frustration, that this person will put their hands in their mouth and bite on their hands. What will they say? How I wish I took away with the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I wish that I took his path. I wish that I went on that sirat, that sabil, as-sirat al-mustaqim, the straight path. Woe to me, I wish I never took this person as a friend. What does that tell us straight away? That we understood that the reason this person didn't take the Sirat al-Mustaqim, The reason this person didn't walk on the path of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the path of the Nabiyyin and the Siddiqeen and the Shuhada and the Salihin, وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا, what an excellent group of companions they are. The reason they never took that path is because there was someone there who took them on a different path. And that person, لَقَدْ أَضَلَّنِي عَنِ الذِّكْرِ بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَنِي, that person took me away, misguided me away from the remembrance, took me away from the Quran, took me away from the Sunnah, took me away from the Rasul, took me away from the Sirat. That person took me away from it. After the knowledge came to me, I knew what I was supposed to do. But that person took me away. And the shaitan, always does the shaitan betray and deceive and abandon those people who follow him. This is the nature of the shaitan. وقال الشيطان لما قضي الأمر إن الله وعدكم وعد الحق ووعدتكم فأخلفتكم. The shaitan will say when everything is finished and done in the Qiyamah, indeed Allah promised you and the promise of Allah was true. And I promised you and I broke my promise. Because that's the nature of the shaitan. He'll take you down a path and then he'll leave you there. More than that, because we're talking about the shaitan, and if a person thinks about it, the shaitan is two types. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَمَنْ يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ نُقَيِّضْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ. Whoever turns away from the remembrance of the Most Merciful, we will appoint for him a shaitan to be his companion. But the shaitan is of two types. Shayateen al-insi wal-jinn. Shaitan from the men and shaitan from the jinn. So not every time is it that you will be appointed a companion min shayateen al-jinn, bal min shayateen al-ins, rather from the human beings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may well appoint for someone when they turn away from Allah, that Allah gives them a bad friend. Allah Azza wa Jal gives them someone from shayateen al-ins to whisper. الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. Someone who whispers into their heart to take them away from the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. So maybe the sins that a person does and continuing in them and turning away and not remembering Allah might lead you to be given a friend who takes you away from the path of Allah to the point that you come Yawm al-Qiyamah biting on your hands and wishing that you'd taken away with the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Rather, you are who your friends are. In the hadith of Abi Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: الرجل على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. A man is on the religion of his close friend. So let everyone look, who have you taken as your close friend? And here particularly the emphasis is upon the Khalil, the one that is your closest friend, your best friend. Because the person that you meet from time to time and you give them salam and you meet them once or twice a year might not have the same impact on you as the person who is like your closest friend. The person who you've taken as your close friend, who you spend a lot of your time with, who do you hang out with, who do you spend time with, and in your spare time when you're not at work, you're not at school, you're not at home, who are you with? That person is a reflection of your deen. Look at that person and say, who is that person in Islam? Not, oh mashallah, he's funny, he's a nice guy, he looks after me, he lifts my spirits, he makes me laugh. Who is he in the deen? Because your deen and his deen are connected together. That's why Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he said, اعتبروا الرجل بمن يصاحب فإنما يصاحب الرجل من هو مثله. He said, judge a person by who his companion is, and who is his friend, who are his friends. Because a person only takes as a companion someone like them. And we're going to come to the explanation of that, because that actually needs a bit of thought. Isn't it possible that I might spend time with someone to help them, right? I might have, let's say, a friend who I spend time with because I want to bring them to the masjid and bring them to the deen. And is it not possible? It's possible. But here, my brothers, I want you to think about something very important, and I want you to distinguish between something. Distinguish between a friend and a da'wah project. And I said this recently to my son, my eldest son. Don't mix these two things up. There's a brother, that brother is a da'wah project for me. Yani I spend time with that brother for a specific reason of bringing him to the masjid and helping him to come to the deen. This friendship between us is built upon a manfa'a or a maslahah, and that maslahah, that benefit is for him to come to the deen and come to the masjid. He is not the same as the person that I took as my close friend. And the problem is when you mix those two in your mind. So you start taking your da'wah project as your close friend. And you say, yeah, of course, I spend all day with him and I go out with him and we spend time together because I'm trying to bring him to the masjid. But this is not the person that you have taken as a friend because of their virtue, because of their status, because of their deen. But someone that you're trying for a benefit, for a maslahah, you spend time with them. Don't mix those two things up. And that's why the statement of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu an is completely and totally valid. Just you have to understand that point. You will only choose as a friend, a proper friend, someone like you, someone compatible with you. But a da'wah project, no, you can choose anyone you like. You can be, drinking coffee with a non-Muslim for the purpose of inviting them to Islam. But this is not your sahib or your khalil. This is not the person that you're the companion with and your close friend. So don't mix those two up. Because what happens when you mix those two up is you end up becoming his da'wah project. And instead of you inviting him to the masjid and to the deen, he starts to invite you to al-fahsha wal-munkar. And you find your heart going towards that and going towards that person. Al-mar'u ma'a man ahab. A person will be resurrected with the ones that they love. So don't ever mix those two together, otherwise you become the da'wah project. We come to the hadith which the topic was titled for, the hadith of the perfume seller. This is an amazing hadith. Hadith muttafaqun alayh, narrated in Bukhari and Muslim. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Innama mathal." The hadith is hadith of Abi Musa al-Ash'ari radiyallahu anhu. "Innama mathalu al-jalis al-salih وجليس السوء كحامل المسك ونافخ الكير فحامل المسك إما أن يحذيك وإما أن تبتاع منه وإما أن تجد منه ريحا طيبة." The hadith of Abi Musa رضي الله عنه, that the Prophet ﷺ said, the example of the righteous companion and the evil companion is like the perfume seller and the one who blows in the blacksmith's furnace. Now the perfume seller, we know, we still have those today, right? And you know what a perfume seller is, right? This guy's carrying around a bag full of perfume and he sells perfumes to people. But what about the other one? Because some people might find that example, nafikh, al-kir, difficult. So you know when you want to work metal, they still do it, but we don't see it in front of us like they used to do back in the day. When you want to do metal work, you have a big burning furnace with molten, all this, like molten metal, everything in it, and burning hot. And there's all kinds of smoke and everything. So traditionally, when they wanted to increase the heat, they would blow on the fire. We still do it, right? If you want your fire if you're out camping and you want your fire to go big, so you blow on the fire and it goes up. So there was someone whose job was to blow on the blacksmith's furnace to make the fire really hot so they could work the metal, so they could hammer the iron and they could make the various objects out of iron from it. And sometimes they would have these big, it's like a big sack, bellows they call it. And like a big sack. You blow into it like that and it becomes really hot. And then they work the iron, they hammer the iron. This is the example given of the bad friend. And the Prophet ﷺ, the way that he taught us is so beautiful. He didn't leave anything unanswered. He gave the example of the perfume seller in 3 things. Either he's going to gift it to you. He's going to gift it. My dear brother, here, have some perfume. Or you're going to purchase it from him. So you're going to say, I'll buy that perfume from you. There you go, there's the money, and you take the perfume. Or you're going to find a pleasant smell by being around that person. Now I want to stop the hadith here for a moment, and I want to ask you about these 3 things. I want to ask you how they relate to friendship. Each one of them. Being given perfume, buying perfume, or having a good smell. So let's start with the first one. Being given a gift of perfume. Translate that for me into the concept of friendship. In terms of any friend, what does it mean being given a gift of perfume? I don't mean that your friend just happens to carry perfume and give it to you. In friendship, what does it mean? Who's going to be brave and answer? Good advice. Jamil, very nice. Good advice. Ad-deenun nasiha. Very nice. Make it, let's step out from specific, that's a great specific example, fantastic. Let's go out and look at it generally. Just generally in terms of friendship. What is that? What's the difference between that one and the one you buy from? What's the difference? Good, that's really good, because when you buy something, it's an exchange of manafi', right? There's an exchange of benefit. You benefit them and they benefit you. But a gift, there's no exchange. For free. So the first one, exactly as you said, either someone who gives it to you because they don't expect anything in return. They are benefiting you without getting anything back. And the friend who is better than you, who is at a level higher than you, who is striving more than you, is like that. Maybe you don't give them back what they give to you. Or what you give to them is very little in comparison to what they give to you. And that person, and that shows you the value of having what? Having friends that are better than you. Don't surround yourself. Sometimes we say to the young brothers, don't surround yourself with people, all of them, who you are the inspiration for them. That's good. Wallahi, don't get me wrong. Hasan, beautiful. But you also have to have people around you that are better than you. that they are an inspiration to you. They're giving you perfume out for free. You didn't do anything in return. You didn't give him back something, but he's giving you. Or you purchase it. And purchasing it is an exchange of benefit. You helped him, he helped you. You benefited him and he benefited you. His friendship was good for you and your friendship was good for him. And what about this pleasant smell? Translate that for me in terms of friendship. Who's going to explain it to me? Assalamu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Beautiful. So we're talking about getting beneficial advice, whether you implement it now, whether you implement it later, and it becomes like a presence around you, right? That's one thing. Jameen, it's a very good point. It benefits you. Who else can give me something on this? You get a pleasant smell. Jameel, subtle changes in your behavior. Very nice. Very nice. A positive impact. Let's go to specifically what kind of positive impact is this? Because he didn't give you perfume and you didn't buy it from him. What positive impact? You're completely right, but what positive impact does he have? If he didn't give you anything and you didn't buy from him, what positive impact does he have? You know? Remember him, okay? Good. Something even more than that. He gets you close to Allah, but that's like a gift of perfume. Here, there's no gift. He never gave you anything and you never bought anything from him, but you just smell good. Jameel, very good. So now we're talking about taking them as an example. That's coming. I'm going to talk about that exactly. That's in my next point. Very good point. Pick up on their behavior, even more subtle than that, even less than that. It brings you closer, no doubt, but even further. You would like to spend more time, but still there's something. I'm going to give you something here. Just being associated with that person, just association, nothing else, no example, no copying, no benefit, just being associated with that person brings you goodness. Just reputation, even that alone, even the fact that you are seen with that person brings you khair. The fact that you are associated with that person brings you good. Even if you have yet to take benefit from them or you haven't given them anything back, but just being around them. Allah's mercy can descend upon a person who came to the masjid at the time of a dars and he didn't come for the dars at all. He came to take something from a brother. So there's a brother and the brother has his car keys or something. And he came and he has no intention of attending the dars. He came to collect his car key and he walks in and he sits down next to a brother who's got the car key and he takes it from him. At that time, if Allah's mercy descends on that people, that person may well receive a portion of that mercy, even though the only thing he did is to sit next to people who received it. And imagine the opposite, and this is also true. Maybe the opposite, sometimes when we learn the opposite, things become clear. Imagine the opposite. You're seen with a bad person. You never did anything bad. And you don't have a bad intention. And you are not yourself a bad person. But you keep getting seen with this dodgy guy. No doubt it's going to affect your reputation. Even if you didn't do anything. I'm innocent. I was just talking to him about the car, the weather, but still you can be guilty by association. But on the other side, you can also be benefited by your association with people. Let's go to the example of the one who blows in the furnace. ونافخ الكير إما أن يحرق ثيابك وإما أن تجد منه ريحا منتنة أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. The person who blows in the furnace, either he's going to burn your clothes or you're going to smell from him a really foul smell. So the example is simple, like we understood. If he burns your clothes, that means he directly harmed you. He brought a harm upon you directly that actually is visible upon you. But sometimes there's no visible harm. You say, look, I still go to masjid, I still pray. What's the problem if I hang around with this guy? I'm still in the masjid, I'm still reading Quran. But gave you a bad smell. He made you carry the things that he does with you even though you never did it yourself. For this example is from the most beautiful examples of what it means to have a good companion and a bad companion. And the word jalis is even worth stopping on for a second. Someone you sit with. Doesn't have to be necessarily your best friend. But if you spend your time sitting with someone who's involved in evil and wrongdoing, who's a bad influence, even if you don't start doing what they're telling you, you're going to end up with a bad smell and people are going to notice it. And wallahi, many times I've had this conversation with the young brothers around me in my masjid. I see a brother, wallahi, from the best of the people, نَحْسَبُهُ كَذَلِكَ وَاللَّهُ حَسِيبُهُ, Allah knows him better. From the best of the young brothers in the masjid, reading the Quran, leading the salah, and from the people who are an example to the others. Like in a couple of months later, I see that brother fell down and dropped down. And the only thing that made him fall down and drop down is only just because he spent time with those people like this example. Even if he didn't do what they do. So keep that example in your mind all the time. Now I said I was going to talk about examples to follow. Really there are two examples. There are two examples that you follow, or two types of examples that you follow. The first is that you take someone as your example, a role model. And that doesn't have to be a friend. So the first category is the role model. The role model, first of all, is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. You have in the Messenger of Allah the best example to follow. For those who hope in Allah in the last day and remember Allah much. So your role model could be someone that you have no physical connection with. The Sahaba are your role models. فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. If you believe as those Sahaba believe, then you are guided. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَى اللَّهُ فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِهِ. They are the people that Allah guided, so take their guidance as your guidance. Role models can be prophets, they can be the Sahaba, they can be A'imma, the Imams of Islam. And they can be people in your time, your teacher, the Imam of the Masjid. They are role model for you. And role models have an influence on you, who you take as your role model. Sad today we have some of the young brothers and sisters taking people as role models, influencers and so on. They don't deserve to be role models because they are bad influence. But here I'm not talking about role models, I'm talking about an-nu' al-thani, the second category, which is how much your friends affect you. Because a lot of us think role models affect us. You know, if my role model is all of them are kuffar and fusaq and evil doers and everything, for sure that's going to affect. And when we see our kids take wrong people as role models, they take rappers and musicians and film stars and all that as role models, we straight away we deal with it. This is a'udhu billah. But we sometimes don't realize that Amr and that Zayd that your son is going out with every day is this gonna have the same influence on him, or if not the same, some influence on him, just as their choice of role models is gonna have an influence on him. And the difference is that it's easy to see how your role models influence you. You see the person dressed like them, start talking like them, start behaving like them. So if it's the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mashallah, you're gonna see the sunnah on that person. And if it's one of these kuffar, you're gonna see that on them. But subtly your friends have the same influence. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he has a statement. He said, كم من الناس لم يرد خيرا ولا شرا حتى رأى غيره لا سيما إن كان نظيره يفعله كفعله فإن الناس كأسراب القطا مجبولون على تشبه بعضهم ببعض. He said, how many people didn't want something good or something bad until they saw someone else? And he never thought of doing that good thing, or he never thought of doing that bad thing until he saw somebody else doing it. لا سيما إن كان نظيره يفعله ففعله. Particularly if he does the same thing after that person. The person does it, then he does it. Because people are like flocks of birds. They have been instinctively, they want to copy each other. It's a profound statement. I really think that statement is worth thinking about. A lot of people, subhanAllah, we don't realize it, but sometimes we never ever thought, for example, take a prayer. We never thought of praying, for example, the Ratiba or the Sunnah, whatever it is, until Zayd next to us stood up and started praying. And then I thought, wow, subhanAllah, Allahu Akbar, I should do the same. Or you see one person run out from the masjid after the salah without doing the adhkar, and what do? You suddenly remember that you've got something urgent to do and you run out of the masjid, and then the next one and the next one and the next one. Asrab al-qata, you people are flocks of birds, all of us like that. You see the masjid empty. Why? Because Zayd stood up and he had something to do, and then Amr stood up and he had something to do, and then the next one remembered he had something to do, and you all went out. Whereas when everyone sat doing the adhkar, wallahi, nobody gets up. People are scared. Even someone's got urgent thing, I left my car in a bad place, but I don't want to stand up because no one else is standing up. This is the nature of human beings. We are affected by the people around us. Al-Raghib al-Asfahani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, ليس إعداء الجليس لجليسه بمقاله وفعاله فقط بل بالنظر إليه. The influence of a companion over his companion is not by statements and actions alone. Even looking at him influences what you do. Just looking at your friend influences the way that you behave. And these things, if we really think about them and we really pay attention to it, we understand how much of an influence people have on us without even realizing. And I think at this point it's worth mentioning a qa'ida fiqhiyya, a principle in the science of fiqh. الدفع أسهل من الرفع. It's easier to prevent something than to have to fix it and get rid of it later. Prevention is better than the cure, like they say. It's much easier to prevent something in the first place than it is to try and fix it later on. For a person who says, I've got bad friends and I've got problems and the people around me are having a bad influence on me, Now we have to do some work to get that person to a stage, and we're going to talk about it inshallah ta'ala. We have to do some work to get that person to that stage where they are now back with righteous companions. There's steps. But ikhwani, if you are with righteous companions, then don't put yourself in that position where we have to then go about fixing the problem later on. I found a statement from Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, rahimahullah ta'ala. He mentions it in Hilya Talib al-Ilm. And I think really this will help us to understand this issue very, very well. He said, وَخُذْ تَقْسِيمَ الصَّدِيقِ وَخُذْ تَقْسِيمَ الصَّدِيقِ فِي أَدَقِّ الْمَعَايِيرِ. He said, I'm going to give you a division of friendship in the most precise manner, with the most precise measurement possible. And he mentions 3 types. صديق منفعة وصديق لذة وصديق فضيلة. 3 types. And it is as he said, دقيق جدا. It's very, very, very precise. That there are really 3 reasons you're friends with anyone. Al-manfa'a, and if you want to call it al-maslaha, you can. Al-ladha and al-fadila. What does it mean? Number 1, a manfa'a or a maslaha. You are friends with that person because of a benefit that you receive from that friendship. We're not talking about the deen. Manfa'a dunyawiyya, a benefit in the dunya, or something that you want from that friendship. I want something from this person. So let me ask you a question, or let's ask ourselves a question. Is it blameworthy to have a friend that you're friends with them because of a maslaha? You're not friends with them because of their virtue and their deen, but because of something that you want from them or something that they do for you. This doesn't have to be blameworthy if it is something which is a maslaha which the Sharia looks at, if it's something which Allah and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave consideration to. There's no harm in that. But understand that this friendship is only built on that. The only reason I'm a friend with this person is because of this particular maslaha or manfa'a. That's it. For example, I'm friends with this person because we do business together. I'm friends with this person because this person picks me up and takes me, to this place every day or every week or whatever. That is our friendship. There's nothing more than that. The friendship is inside of that had or those hudud, inside of the limits. It's for a benefit. And this includes the da'wah project. The reason I have a friendship with that brother is لِمَصْلَحَةِ الدَّعْوَةِ, for the benefit of the da'wah. Or for the benefit of giving nasiha. But if he accepts that da'wah or he doesn't accept it, at the end of the day, that friendship lasts as long as that benefit lasts. And this is not about loving someone for the sake of Allah and Iman. This is about having a practical friendship because of something that you need from them or something they need from you, and that's it. And this is a very wide topic. You get a lot of people like this. Vast majority of people will be like this. So I work with the brother, I work with the guy, he's my neighbor. When the person's not my neighbor, I'm not going to know them anymore. There's a manfa'a or a maslaha that we're friends for. The second is sadiq ladha, the person that you have fun with. You have a lot of fun with them. You have a shared hobby. You have something you do together. And you enjoy their company because of that particular thing that you guys do together. And this ladha, it might be mubaha and it might be muharrama. It might be something permissible or impermissible. Someone you play football together. And the reason that you have this friendship is because you play football. I love playing football with this guy. Personally, if he asked me to come meet him for anything else, I wouldn't. I don't have that kind of friendship with him. But we play football together and he's great in goal or whatever. And there's a ladh that you enjoy something together, but your friendship is based upon that thing that you enjoy together. If you leave that hobby or that thing, or that person leaves it, that friendship doesn't remain. Bear in mind that this ladha can be permissible, this enjoyment can be permissible, and it can be impermissible. And that's really one of the worst kinds of friendship you can have, is the friend that you have because of a ladha muharrama, because of something haram that you enjoy doing together. And this is really the worst category you can have. A friend that's your friend because you enjoy doing haram together. And the minute you're going to leave that haram, or they're going to leave that haram, there's nothing between you, except that you enjoy to come together and do this particular haram. But even if it is a ladha mubaha, many times permissible enjoyment gets in the way of your deen. And take this as a benefit, Wani. Sometimes, not always, we're not saying never have fun. I'm not going to say to you guys, never ever have fun, never enjoy yourself. But a lot of the times when you fill your day with enjoying yourself, you actually hurt yourself in the deen a lot. And you take yourself away from a lot of amazing opportunities that you could otherwise have had by Allah's permission. The third type is Sadiqu Fadila, the person that your friendship is based upon virtue. You come together in order to increase in virtue in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this virtue could be Fadilatun Amaliyya or Fadilatun Ilmiyya. It could be a virtue that things you practice together. We pray, we go to the masjid together, we give da'wah together, we come to the same halqa for Quran together. And it could also be ilmiyya. We study together, we revise together, we go over the masail together, we read books together. And this one is the one that you should keep, not just stick to it, you should value it because it is worth the dunya and whatever's in it, more than the dunya and whatever is in it. The friend that you have because they increase you in virtue, and you together are competing with each other and racing with each other to gain what is virtuous and praiseworthy in the sight of Allah. And that's why in the hadith, سَبْعَةٌ يُظِلُّهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي ظِلِّهِ يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّهُ. 7 that Allah will shade, 7 groups of people. Allah will shade them with the shade of Allah on the day when there is no shade except His shade. And from them, رَجُلَانِ تَحَابَّا فِي اللَّهِ اجْتَمَعَا عَلَيْهِ وَتَفَرَّقَا عَلَيْهِ أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. 2 people, they love each other for the sake of Allah, they come together for the sake of Allah, and when they depart, for the sake of Allah. You say, what is that connects me? Sometimes it's amazing. This mahabba imaniyya is so amazing that at times you say, if it wasn't for iman, there's nothing that I would be friends with this brother for. He's not from my same country, we don't speak maybe the same language, or he's not from my background, and we don't share any hobbies, and we don't share any likes, but wallahi, I love him for the sake of Allah, and he loves me for the sake of Allah. This friendship will benefit you in the dunya, and it will benefit you bi'idhnillahi ta'ala in the akhirah. And from the great benefits of it is the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, hadith Qudusi, in which Allah Azza wa Jal said, وَجَبَتْ مَحَبَّتِي لِلْمُتَحَابِّينَ فِي وَالْمُتَجَالِسِينَ فِي وَالْمُتَزَاوِرِينَ فِي وَالْمُتَبَاذِلِينَ فِيهِ. My love is obligatory, wajib. It has to be that I love the people who love each other for my sake, and who sit with each other for my sake, and who visit each other for my sake, and who exchange with each other and give to each other for my sake. Those people, it is obligatory, it has to be that Allah loves them. And there's nothing that connects them except Iman. And racing each other for what pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the best kind of friendship. Is it possible you could join between that and between al-ladha wal-manfa'a? It's possible. Some of the ulama mentioned it, that you could. You could have someone who maybe, for example, you benefit each other, maybe you got like a business together. But if that business was dissolved today, I love that brother for the sake of Allah, it wouldn't make any difference to me at all. Or someone we play football together or whatever it is and we enjoy things together, but wallahi, if we both lost our legs, we would still love each other for the sake of Allah. It can be. But the one that feels the best is the one that there's no manfa'a and no ladha at all, except that you love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all it takes, look at the connection of that to the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you truly believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And the only thing I want for this brother is good because I love this brother for the sake of Allah. And I just want to conclude with a few points, inshallah ta'ala, maybe 5 minutes, inshallah. Distancing yourself from bad friends and bad gatherings. It's not easy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ الذِّكْرَى مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. If you see these people involving themselves with regard to the ayat of Allah and speaking about them badly or speaking foolishly about the ayat of Allah, فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ. Walk away from them. حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ. Until they start speaking about something else. And if the shaitan makes you forget, don't sit after you remember with the wrongdoing people. My dear brothers, this ayah, it has a very important application. It's not easy to leave bad friends. And sometimes we might forget. Sometimes even maybe people we think are good friends and the conversation might change to one of ghibah, backbiting, or one of evil. As soon as you realize that you're in a gathering where people are speaking about something which makes Allah angry, what is obligatory on you is to leave. And that's the first thing. People say, how do I leave these bad friends? The first thing, it's not about sending them a letter, my dear friend. I'm sending you this letter to tell you that I'm not going to be your friend anymore. Thank you and goodbye. The first thing is that when you see you're with someone and that conversation changes to something that makes Allah angry and displeases Allah, فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ. I've got something to do. See you guys later. And as soon as you start doing that, these people will know either they will follow you and change, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, or either they will leave you alone. All you have to do is just walk away from that one gathering. Even if you don't walk away or announce to that person, just distance yourself from that one gathering. We've all heard the famous hadith, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ فَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. Whoever sees an evil among you, let him change it with his hand if he has authority. And if he doesn't, if he's not able, let him change it with his tongue if he has knowledge. And if he's not able, let him hate it in his heart. What I want from this hadith is actually people have a misconception. They think that hating something in their heart means there is no action required of them. And this is wrong. Hating something in your heart, it must appear on your body, the effects of that hatred. So sahih, you're not going to grab the bottle out of someone's hand, nor are you going to say to him, ittaqillah ya rajul. But there has to be a sign physically on you that you hate it in your heart. Otherwise, wallahi, this hatred is not a true hatred until it shows on you physically. So sometimes people think the last one is like a get out of jail free card, right? Whatever, it doesn't matter, I hate it in my heart, right? These brothers are all doing haram, but I was sat there hating it in my heart. These brothers were all speaking bad of Allah and bad about Islam, but it's all right because I hated it in my heart. This person was drinking alcohol, taking drugs, but it's okay because I hated it in my heart. If you hated it in your heart, there is talazum bayna al-zahiri wal-batin. Your inside and outside are connected to each other. If you hated it in your heart, فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِ. Just get up and leave. If you hate that ghiba in your heart and you can't say, fear Allah and stop talking about this brother, at least you can stand up and say, brothers, I'll see you later. And just walk away. Even if you can't say that, just sneak out of the room, just walk out. That is the minimum standard of faith. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. The minimum, the weakest thing that can be called iman is that you hate it in your heart and you show the effects of that hatred in the way that you behave. My dear brothers, I'm going to finish with or perhaps we'll finish with just even one. One dua is from the hadith of Uqbah bin Amir radiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to seek refuge. And he used to say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min yawm as-su' wa min laylati as-su' wa min sa'ati as-su' wa min sahib as-su' wa min jari as-su' fi dar al-muqama. He used to make this dua, oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from an evil day and an evil night and an evil hour, an evil moment, and from an evil friend, and from having an evil neighbor in the everlasting abode. That a person becomes from the people of Jahannam wal-'iyadhu billah, and their neighbors are these evil people. But subhanAllah, even in our dua, we ask Allah for good friends. But inshaAllah ta'ala, this had some benefit for everyone and a reminder for everyone. And that's what Allah Azza wa Jal made easy for me to mention on this topic. And Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. There will be a Q&A session. As far as I know, inshallah, according to the schedule, it's going to be after Maghrib, bi'idhnillah ta'ala.